Yo, what's up, Broncos country? How's it going tonight, guys? So, I wanted to get on here and make this video. I, finally got some downtime tonight, so I was able to jump on here. But so today, the Broncos had practice, just a walkthrough. It really wasn't nothing too much. And after practice was over, Sean Payton got to the podium and he named Bo Nix the starting QB for the Broncos this season. Now, this is huge. A lot of us, a lot of people were discussing it. A lot of people were going over it. There was a lot of, talking about who's going to be the starter, whether it was going to be Stidham. I don't think anybody expected Zach Wilson to be the starter, and Bo Nix, of course. And I guess today, everything last week, Sean Payton had an interview last week with Kay Adams, and she pretty much tried to force it out of him last week. Was like, "Come on, we know who it is, Sean. Just tell us." And he pretty much, pointed to today as the day he would announce who the starter would be. And he pretty much said, we got one more dance, to get through to, before we do that. That dance being, the Packers game last Sunday. And in his first game against the Colts, Bo Nix, he played well. He had a touchdown. He should have had two if Josh Reynolds would have caught the ball. He looked poised in the pocket. The first couple of throws, he looked a little nervous, but that's to be expected in your first NFL game. And then after that, he settled in and he was just dropping dimes to receivers. His footwork was a little sketchy, I will admit that. And then I guess probably through this past week, Sean Payton was like, "Hey, let's clean up the footwork. Let's work on that. You can't be sitting there with jittery feet and just trying to deliver the ball." Well, we saw that this past Sunday against the Packers. His footwork was a lot freaking cleaner. He was setting his feet, delivering the ball on time. He had that one little hiccup there at the beginning, which was a touchdown, but overturned because he crossed the line of scrimmage, which I'm not too worried about that. That's going to get cleaned up. Small stuff like that, I am not concerned with in the slightest because Sean Payton will be like, just, hey, pay attention to your surroundings. He'll coach him up out of that. And but his footwork, his poise, his comfortability, all that stuff, his arm strength, him delivering the ball on time and rhythm and accurately is all on show. Like it was for the first 2 weeks, and it was obvious. Anybody that watched the Broncos the last couple weeks, or even went to training camp like I did this year, I think I went to like 6 training camps out of 16. So I went to a lot this year, and even watching Bo in training camp, like you could just tell he had command of the huddle. He was mature, he was poised, he was accurate. Like he was the guy. The first game, like I said, I'm like I wouldn't have been surprised if they named Bo Nix the starter last week after the Colts game because of how well he played. Yes, footwork was a little but stuff you can clean up. And then the Packers game, I was like, yeah, it's 100% certain now. Like even after the joint practice they had last Friday with the Packers, Bo Nix looked great. He was out there delivering the ball. He setting his feet. Hitting the receivers. You know, um. Now a lot of people want to take a shot and say, "Oh, Bo Nix was playing against the second stringers." So what? Who really gives a rip? You know, because if Bo Nix would have went out there and played bad against the twos on Sunday, whenever they were playing the Packers, people would be ripping him. They'd be shredding him if he played poorly against the second string with the first string. But see, these are the kind of people you cannot please. These people will never be happy. Like these are the people that I guarantee you the second Bo Nix throws an interception in the regular season, which will happen. He's still a rookie, and even the best of the best, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, they throw interceptions. It's just the nature of the game. You're going to throw picks sometimes. Whether that's, you just made a bad read, receiver falls, or runs the wrong route, or the DB just jumps it. It's going to happen. And it's going to be freaking hilarious to see these people overreact when Bo Nix takes his first sack. I mean, he hasn't even taken a sack in the first two preseason games. So once that happens, Bo Nix takes a sack, throws an INT. Dude, these people are going to be coming out of the woodwork, just bashing, saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have drafted Bo Nix. He's a bust. He's trash." That's what these people are going to do. And you should be excited about it. Like, just be like, these people just need to, stop being so dang negative all the time and be excited that the Broncos have finally found their franchise QB. Like, yes, I understand. he hasn't played against the number one defense, but who cares? Like if he played like he did in the regular season, I'm sorry, in the preseason, with the poise, the accuracy, the footwork, the maturity, taking command of the huddle, delivering the ball on time and in rhythm with his receivers, like that doesn't matter. Like playing against second stringers, none of that stuff matters. Playing against first stringers, none of that stuff matters. And doing his checks, like that's the other thing too. It seemed like to me this year, I don't know. Let me know if you guys seen a difference. But it seemed like this year, a lot of teams, yes, they were vanilla in some of their play callings, but some of them they weren't. I mean, I've seen a lot of, motion and stuff. I've seen a lot of, exotic, well, not really exotic, but a lot of different formations, trying to, not really show where the blitz is coming from or what the offense is going to do, just showing all these, like more than vanilla, play calls on offense and defense. It seemed like a lot of teams were doing that this year, especially the Chiefs. Like they did that in their, I think it was the preseason game week 1. They did that. And I'm just saying, like, it doesn't matter. Like playing against first, second, or third stringers, that has nothing to do with Bo Nix's mechanics. All that has to do with is, can he read a defense? Can he see these disguises, whenever he's out there on the field, whenever teams are actually trying to win and not just evaluate players, which I believe he can. He showed it at Oregon. He showed it in training camp. He showed it preseason because whenever these teams would do certain things to try to get the quarterback confused, like, where's the blitz coming from? Is it coming from here? Is it coming from there? Bo Nix knows. He's like, oh, that guy's blitzing or that guy's blitzing. He'll shift the line. He'll do all this stuff that he needs to do. That's why I'm not concerned and why I say he's the franchise QB for the next 10 to 15 years. And these people are saying, oh, you can't say that. You don't know. Yeah, I do. If you watch the film, if you just watch the tape, watch the games, you can see Bo Nix knows. He knows how to read it. And that's the other thing. Yes, like I said, preseason, somewhat vanilla play calling, some of it wasn't. Yes, these are second stringers, but the concepts are still there. The only difference is, yes, these players might be a little bit better than the second stringers. I understand that. But the fact that Bo Nix can be like, you know what, I can identify the blitzer. Oh, they're in cover 3 or they're cover 2 or they're cover 1 or, they're in base defense or, whatever. He knows. He looks at the defense. He can tell. And by doing the motions, like bringing in the running back like he did last week, there was one play where they were 5 wide. Bo Nix brought the running back in. He found out, hey, they're in man coverage. So just because it's second stringers doesn't mean nothing. The only thing that means is there's, the first stringers are better players. But the fact is that these coaches, even with the second and third stringers, they're like, hey, we're going to try to throw some, kind of exotic blitzes or, designs on defense at this young kid, and see if we can confuse him, maybe get him throw a pick. Because, the other team, they're paid too. Yes, it's preseason. The score doesn't matter, but they're there to try to see what their players can and can't do either. They're there to see if this kind of, formation or this kind of play can work in the regular season and if their guys can do it. So this is why I say Bo Nix is going to be the franchise quarterback because he can do that all. He can set his foot. He's accurate. He's on time. He's poised in the pocket. He stays in the pocket. He can read a defense. He can do his checks. He can shift the line. He can do all that stuff. Everything an NFL, quarterback can do, a starting caliber quarterback can do in the NFL. Bo Nix has already demonstrated he can do all that. What's up, Big E? Thanks for joining us tonight, man. So Bo Nix has shown the ability to do all those things. It doesn't matter what string it is, whether it's first, second, or third. The fact that he's able to do those things, regardless of what defense is out there. And the thing is, like, if it was so vanilla, like if these defensive and offensive play calls were that vanilla as people think they are, there wouldn't be blitzes, there wouldn't be motion, there wouldn't be, all this stuff on the offensive defense trying to confuse the other side of the ball. I'm not saying they did that all at, through the entirety of preseason, but there was a few plays for every team I watched this preseason so far. They changed it up. It wasn't vanilla play calling. They had motion, they had shifting, they had defense, trying to, disguise the blitzer, disguise the coverage, They were doing that on some plays in the preseason, and Bo Nix was able to read it, react, get the ball out on time and where it needed to be to the right receiver. This is why I say he's going to be the franchise QB for the next 10 to 15 years. So when these people are talking to you saying, "Oh, don't be happy," temper your expectations. No, be happy because God forbid, you know, just if this does eventually, maybe not this year or maybe it is this year, whatever, if it hits the wall, if Bo Nix and the Broncos, they hit the wall and it just falls apart, you know, even if that does happen, which that's like, a probably less than 1% chance at this point that's going to happen. But say it does. Be excited now. At least be excited now, because if something like that happens, then we know we're probably going to have to go back to the well, or it's going to be a few years before we can get to that point to where we're contenders. But enjoy it. Like, maybe I am a little too much, too far out on my skis on this, but I don't care. Broncos football has not been, offensively anyway, has not been fun or electric, or we haven't had a franchise QB in 9 freaking years. So I'm going to enjoy it, and no one is going to tell me differently. So I'm excited Bo Nix is the starter. It was obvious for anyone that was watching the preseason and the training camp. It was obvious. Bo Nix is, the truth, in my opinion. And no one's going to change my mind on that. The only person that can change my mind on that is Bo Nix himself, and that's if he plays terribly, which, like I said, I have less than a 1% chance to think that's going to happen in my eyes. Let's see. Let's just look at Russell Wilson. Look against Buffalo, third string. Buffalo's top edge, 3 edge. Yeah, I did notice that, and he still was bailing out of the pocket. A 15-year vet. Everybody get ready for Bo Nix and sealed Team 10 to invade. Yeah, man, it's going to be wild, man. I cannot wait. We got less than 2.5 weeks until week 1 of the season. And I'm excited, man. Like, oh God, I'm gonna be super glued to my TV. And honestly, I posted up in some groups earlier. What is everybody's score prediction for the first game of the season against the Seahawks up there in Seattle? My score prediction was 24-13. Broncos 24, Seattle 13. Because you know what? Geno Smith's not it. I don't think Sam Howell's it either. Yes, I understand they have DK Metcalf. Yes, they have Tyler Lockett, who's old as dirt, but he's still a good receiver. They have Kenneth Walker. Their offensive line and their interior offensive line is not that great. And the boys that we have up front, Zach Allen, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, freaking who was the other one? The other guy we signed this year. God, who was it? I'm drawing the blank here, guys. If you can remind me who the other defensive lineman is outside of Zach Allen, DJ Jones. John Franklin Myers. Those guys are gonna obliterate Seattle's, interior offensive line. Their tackles are solid. They're okay. I wouldn't say they're elite by any stretch of the imagination. What's up, Michael? Thanks for joining us, man. But they're not elite. And honestly, I guess Seattle has a okay defense, but their coach is new. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take a new head coach in Seattle with a Seahawks team that is probably okay. I wouldn't say great, or I wouldn't even say good. I'd say okay, against a Sean Payton led team who the entire roster has bought into Sean Payton. They have bought in to everything he's, been saying, he's been doing. And the fact that, and I'm going ahead and saying it. I mean, a lot of people have already said this, but a lot of people think it's silly. Bo Nix is Sean Payton's next Drew Brees. That's exactly what we got. Bo Nix will be Sean Payton's next Drew Brees. And actually, I shouldn't say he is going to be. He is Sean Payton's next Drew Brees. We have pretty much the Denver Saints here. He brought a lot of coaches over from the Saints. He brought some players over from the Saints, and he found his next Drew Brees. This team is going to be competitive for the next 10 to 15 years with the Chiefs. I don't care what anybody says. The Chiefs, they're not I have to say the Chiefs' most dominant they were was whenever Patrick Mahomes first came in the league, his first 2-3 seasons when they had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce was a little bit younger. The fact that they don't have a true number one receiver and Travis Kelce's just getting older and Patrick Mahomes he's getting older and he's not going to be as mobile as he once was. The Chiefs ain't going to be dominant. And honestly, I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl this year. But like I said, I got the Broncos 24-13. I think Seattle Seahawks might squeeze out one touchdown and a couple field goals. I think Bo Nix I think he throws two touchdowns, they rush for another, and they kick a field goal. Like, I think that's what the Broncos are going to do this week, or week 1 against Seattle. And then Pittsburgh, honestly, I'm chalking that up to a win, man. I'm not going to go through every game, but just the first two. Pittsburgh's going to be a win. They are a disaster over there on offense. I don't know if any of you seen the preseason game for the Steelers last week, but their starting offensive line is hot trash. Russell Wilson still is in the same, form, just running around, taking sacks, holding the ball too long. Like, freaking Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito and, Jonah Ellis, they're going to freaking thrive in that game. They're going to tear that freaking offensive line of the Steelers up. And if Russ is the starter, they're going to destroy Russ. Justin Fields might give them a little bit better of a chance. That's why I think the Steelers should start Justin Fields, because he gives them the best chance to win. Not because I think he's better at passing the ball, not because, he's a more better decision maker. It's just the ability of having his legs and being able to run to to escape freaking, defensive linemen. Like, I'm telling you right now, man, if Russell Wilson is the starter week 2 for the Steelers when they come to Denver and he tries to roll out and run, Zach Allen's going to chase him down. Zach Allen's a big boy. DJ Jones, freaking John Franklin Myers. These are some big boys up front. Russ is so freaking slow that these D linemen will catch him before he even gets up to the line of scrimmage. So, but yeah, I think I haven't really settled on the score yet, because it still, to me, depends on who the starter is for the Steelers. If it's Russ, I say 10 points. If it's Justin Fields, I'll go with 17, maybe 14, probably 14. I think the Steelers with Justin Fields will probably get 2 rushing touchdowns, maybe 1 rushing touchdown. The running back will get another one. But if it's Fields, I say 14 points. If it's Russ, it's going to be probably 10. And honestly, if it's Russ, like, he's going to make a couple of dumb plays, and it's just going to give the Broncos the game. So Bronco fans, not just we don't want Russ to start just because we want to demolish him and prove that Sean Payton was right. But we know if we play Russ if the Russ is the starter with the Steelers and he plays us here in week 2, Russ is going to give us the game. Sorry, Broncos country. Sorry, I took all this money and I sucked for 2 years. So here's a win. That's basically what he's going to do. I'm not saying he's doing that purposely. He just can't help it. Like, he's just going to be like trying to run, scramble, do something, and he's going to be holding the ball out here, and it's going to get stripped out of his hands like it did last year against the Jets. So, but yeah, Bo Nix is the starter. Broncos country, let's rejoice at this. We finally found our franchise QB, and let's be excited about it, man. Like, this is big news. Like, I am so freaking excited. Like, that means this week we probably won't see Bo Nix against Arizona. I don't think we're going to see any of the starters. Sean Payton hasn't really said anything. Maybe he comes out tomorrow or Friday and says, yeah, maybe the starters will play for a series or 2. Probably most likely 1. But I just have a feeling that Sean Payton, he's already seen enough from the starters. He ain't going to play him in the 3rd preseason game. It's mostly going to be 2nd and 3rd, maybe possibly 4th stringers. Guys are going to be working at the grocery store here in a few weeks. But yeah, honestly, the starters I don't see playing this week. Now, the game's still going to be interesting, because my personal opinion, I think they're going to, Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham, now that Bo Nix has been named the starter, each one of those guys are going to get a half this week. I don't know who's going to – it'll probably be Zach Wilson starting, I would assume. Zach Wilson will probably start the game. He'll get the entire first half. Jarrett Stidham will get the entire second half, and whoever has a better game is probably going to be the backup. Because personally, I know Sean said they're maybe going to keep 3, maybe. I don't think they do. I think they use that extra roster spot for something else, and I think they only keep 2 quarterbacks. Now, this game this Sunday is big on who they cut, who they get rid of, whether they trade or cut them, and who they keep. And honestly, Zach Wilson to me has had the 2 preseason games. I think Zach Wilson's had better games. Yes, he had the safety last week, the only points the Packers got, by the way. But like a lot of people, like, and I'll be the first to say, like that first interception in the first game that Jarrett Stidham threw, that was not on him by any stretch. That was completely on Perine. He delivered the ball accurately on time. You know, Perine was wide open, and Perine just like sitting there playing, he's just juggling the dang ball instead of holding it in, which I think hurt his roster spot. I think he's gone. I think Perine's out of the building. But last week, Jarrett Stidham threw another interception. Now, a lot of people I saw say, "Oh, that wasn't Stidham's fault." I beg to differ. Yes, it was, because if you watch that pass, like I've seen the all 22 film, that pass he threw, it hit the offensive lineman in the back of the head and bounced in the air. He didn't get the ball up high enough or away from the offensive lineman enough. It hit the offensive lineman in the back of the head and popped up. That one's on Stidham. He's got to get that ball in a better location to get out to the receiver and not hit his offensive lineman in the back of the head. So I put that one on Stidham. Yes, a safety on Zach Wilson, but here's the thing. The safety, I don't put that on Zach Wilson either. Because if you go back and rewatch that freaking play, the tackle that was, swinging around to come over to block, he completely whiffed on that block. Like he didn't even get a hand on that rusher coming into Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson literally had no time to make a decision. So that was on that tackle. I can't remember who it was that let that pressure through, but I know it was one of the backup tackles. So, and the fact that Zach Wilson hasn't thrown a single interception in a preseason game. Yes, he's thrown a few in training camp, whatever. It's still Zach Wilson. He's still going to make those mistakes, but he didn't throw one in a game. Zach Wilson did not throw an interception in the game. So I'm leaning towards Zach Wilson being the backup. But I think this next game, this preseason game 3, it's mostly just going to be seeing who fills out the rest of the roster, who's going to be the backups, who's going to be the third stringers, and it's going to be big for the quarterbacks because I think that's going to determine who the backup quarterback is going to be, whether it's Zach or Jarrett Stidham. So, but a lot to be happy about. Like I said, let's enjoy this day. Bo Nix is our starter. Let's go. He's our future. It's an exciting day. I remember whenever the news broke, I was sitting at work on break, and the first, I just got out from underneath of a truck, and I went to go check my phone, actually going on break, and that's whenever I saw it. Bo Nix has been named the starter. And I just want to ask anybody, and if you haven't, go check it out. Did anybody watch Sean Payton's presser after practice today when he announced that Bo Nix was the starter? Like right after he said, sorry, we've been going through this, blah, blah, blah. By the way, Bo Nix is a starter. He had a little smirk on his face. Like he knew. Like Sean Payton is actually happy. You can tell he's giddy. He's excited, but he's not going to be like a little cheerleader out there like, yep, Bo Nix is our starter. I got my next Drew Brees, blah, 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 blah. He's not going to do that. That's not Sean Payton's style. But you could see that little smirk like, yep, I found my guy. AFC West, watch your back. So anyway, let's see. What we got here? We got a couple of chats, or we got a couple of messages in here. Denver, let's see. Let's go up here. Thanks, Big E and Michael Ronquillo for joining in tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. Oh, crap. Freaking thing's all screwy. Let's go up here. Let's see if I can. Oh, it's not going up. What the heck? It won't let me go up. It won't let me go up. That's weird. But yeah, anyway, it's been a good day. Bo Nix is the starter. We all should be excited about this, guys. Like a lot. Let's see. Michael Ronquillo, you got the Broncos winning 31-17. Nice, man. I really, yep. That'd be a great score. Like I said, I got 24-13. We got Big E here. He's got week 2 against the Steelers. He got the Broncos winning 24-3. If Wilson starts, I can totally see that being the case. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun this year, guys. Like we're gonna be seeing a lot of fun plays. It's gonna be really exciting. Big E, let's see what you said here. If Russell Wilson is a starter week 2, Denver gets 5 sacks. Dude, I would probably count more than that. I'd probably say about 10. Just kidding. But no, it's going to be a lot. I can tell you that much. Uh, hope we can come up with what's this? I hope I can come up with the money for the Pittsburgh game. Yeah, I was going to go to that game because I really wanted to go and watch Russell Wilson falter. But man, that's the most expensive game in the year. I've been on SeatGeek looking at ticket prices because me and my wife are going, week 18 to whenever the Chiefs come to town. And there's another game, Falcons, Panthers, Colts. There's one of those games in there somewhere I'm going to wind up going to with one of my kids. But the Steelers game, man, I think the last time I checked, even for 500 seats, like the nosebleeds, man, they're like $300, bro. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to go. Michael, let's see. Bo Nix doesn't need to play in the third NFL preseason game. Rest him. Yeah, that's what Sean Payton's going to do. He's not going to play any of the starters. I don't think any of the starting offensive line, receivers, tight ends, or any of the defense starter wise is going to play in that game. It's mostly just going to be all the second and third. If we got any four stringers, them guys playing just to fill out the rest of the roster spot, see who's going to make the roster. The starters are going to sit. We ain't going to see them again until week one. Michael, let's see what you said here. Bo Nix was the only quarterback I wanted here with the Broncos. Me too. Like during the season last year, I was saying, earlier in the year, like when we lost that game to Miami by 70, I was like, if this team keeps going the way they are, they're gonna have number one overall pick and they're gonna take Caleb Williams. Then later throughout the year, I said JJ McCarthy, but like once the season ended, and we really started picking up and I started really watching the college tape, I was like, nah. Right around the Super Bowl, I was like, nah, I want Bo Nix. Like he looks like he'll fit Sean Payton's system perfectly and effectively. So I'd be happy with Bo Nix 110% in that. Um, so, but yeah, I was Bo Nix about right around the Super Bowl. 15 sacks against Russell Wilson. Dude, that would be freaking that would just be embarrassing for Russ. If that was the case, if I was Russ, I would just freaking retire. Like, I think he should retire, dude. I don't even think he should be in the NFL anymore because I don't know if you guys watched Mark Schlereth the other day, but he was pretty much like, yeah, Russell Wilson played himself out of the Hall of Fame these 2 years in Denver. He's done. And I agree with that. I don't think he's making the Hall. Unless he has some kind of resurrection in his career, it's not going to happen. He's out of the Hall right now. Let's see. Any other comments here? I don't think so. Uh, let's see here. Let me scroll up. Biggie. Yeah, I want to show this. Well, just look at how bad Russell Wilson looked against Buffalo's third string. Buffalo's top three edge rushers are out. Man, that's what makes it even more freaking hilarious, dude. Like, seriously. The fact that freaking, he was going up against third stringers. What is, like, if Russ starts, what's he going to do whenever he goes up against somebody's first string defense? The guy's going to be like a deer in headlights. And you know what? I don't really like bashing on Russ. I like him as a person, whatever. He's a nice guy. I know you know, that's kind of a cliche, I guess you could say, because a lot of people say the same thing, like, "Oh, Russ is a nice guy." I don't hate him. He's a nice guy, and it's true. I really don't hate Russ. He is a nice guy. He does stuff for the community that he plays for, whether it's Denver, Seattle, or Pittsburgh. He does stuff for that community, and I like as a person, I like him. As a football player, he's doesn't have it no more. He just doesn't have it. So and that's just what it is. Father Time catches up to all quarterbacks eventually. They're going to catch up. Uh, Big E won't. Let's get to this last one here. I don't think. Here, I'm going to put this up here. Let's see what he says. I don't think you should ever be in the or I don't think he should have ever been in the Hall of Fame. He was never a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That's a good argument, Big E, but it's just, you know, there's a lot of people that say he shouldn't be in the Hall, even with that one Super Bowl victory. I think his play was good. Like, you're right, it wasn't top 5, but it was solid. I mean, there's players that have made it into the Hall that, never even won a Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure Dan Marino. And I just feel like even though Russ really wasn't the one responsible for winning that Super Bowl, it was the Legion of Boom, by the way, against us. Uh, I still believe he belonged in the Hall once when he was still in Seattle. Maybe now the only way, like, Russ could have had these 2 bad years in Denver and probably still made the Hall if he would have won that second Super Bowl against New England. Like, if he would have made if the Seahawks would have won that second Super Bowl against New England and Russell Wilson had 2 rings, I'd be like, no, he's gonna be in it just for the 2 rings alone. Like Eli Manning was another one. He wasn't that great. I'm not saying he was as bad as Russ, but or the same player as Russ, but he wasn't great. But he's got those 2 Super Bowls beating Tom Brady. I mean, yes, his last name is Manning, but you know, still, Peyton Manning, like his brother, yes, he has 2 Super Bowls too, but you could tell Peyton Manning, he was just, he was a machine whenever it came to reading defenses, getting out of checks, delivering the ball. You know, he was a machine at that. Like Peyton Manning was honestly, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback at reading defenses, more than Tom Brady. Any of the historic quarterbacks, Peyton Manning was the best at it. So just yeah. But yeah, man, it was wild. I'm so happy Bo Nix is the starter. And it little backstory before I get off here with you guys. The funny thing about it is that when Sean Payton, he didn't even say anything yet. He went up to the quarterbacks after the end of practice today. He went up to Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and Zach Wilson, and was like, he went up to Bo Nix first. Was like, "Hey, you're my starting quarterback." Then he goes and tells Jarrett Stidham. Then he goes and tells Zach Wilson. The team didn't even know. Like the media found out before the whole team did. Like when Payton released or did that presser today and he announced the starting quarterback was Bo Nix, the team didn't even know. The reporters for Denver knew before the team did. The only people that knew before the reporters and the team was the 3 quarterbacks: Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Bo Nix. That was the only 3 that knew. Then he told the reporters, and then I think after that they had a meeting. Then he told the team. But I mean, I'm sure the players saw it before they got in there, and they knew anyway. The players knew even before going into today's practice. They knew Bo Nix was the starter. But even before they had that meeting today, and Sean Payton came out and said, "Yeah, Bo Nix is a starter." Like once he announced it to the media, I'm sure a player or two, if not a bunch of them, probably saw that and we're like, "Oh, okay, I guess Bo Nix is the starter." So yeah, it great day. It was just a weird way that Sean Payton did it, but you know what? I'm not going to dock him for it. You know, he's been if him and Bo Nix this year work and they actually play well, and the Broncos are competitive in December or even all season, and they make the playoffs, like no one's going to care. Everybody trusts Sean Payton. This whole Russell Wilson thing, this dead cap money, and this could be like the Broncos and Sean Payton could be paving the way for other teams. And what I mean by that is they can be paving the way for other teams in the sense that if you don't like a player, it doesn't matter what your dead cap is going to be. Get rid of them. Divide that dead cap up between 2 years, go out and draft a rookie. I'm not necessarily saying a quarterback, but any freaking position. Like if you could do it with a quarterback, the most important position in all of sports, you could do it with literally any position on the roster. If you could do it with a quarterback. If this works out this year, if Sean Payton and Bo Nix play well, I think they're going to go 11-6. Initially I said 10-7, but after what I've seen, I say 11-6 is what they're going to go this year. And they get into the playoffs. The dead cap discussion, teams should not be worried about the dead cap. If that's the case, if the Broncos make the freaking playoffs this year with an $85 million dead cap hit, 53 of which they're taking on this year, and you're able to put this roster together, then no team is going to care about a dead cap anymore. No one. This is the biggest dead cap in NFL history, and you could put the other top dead cap hits together. I think it was Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers were like 40 something million or like 40 million a piece. Guess what? The Broncos dead cap for just one player was worth both worth more than both of those. And yet, if the Broncos make the playoffs and with their rookie quarterback this year, dead cap ain't gonna mean a damn thing anymore, in my opinion. Couple more comments before we get out of here. I need to get off here and get ready for bed. Keep up the great work, Ed. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. As long as you guys keep watching, I'll keep making these videos, bro. Is it the Hall of Fame an individual award, not a team? It is true, but I'm just saying, like, if Russ just had that extra Super Bowl ring. Like, even though the defense won that championship, Russ just having 2 Super Bowl rings, being the leader on the offense and being the quarterback of that team, of the Super Bowl winning teams, he's going to get that would put him into the Hall of Fame, which I'm still pretty ticked that Mike Shanahan's not in there. He needs to be in there. Here, I'm going to go ahead and throw these up here, guys, because, I don't get, I love doing this. Sean Payton's legacy in the NFL is on the line by drafting Bo Nix. I can agree with that to an extent. And I think Sean Payton knows that. And like, after we drafted Bo Nix, you heard a lot of reports saying Sean Payton really didn't like his top 3 quarterbacks were, I think, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, who were the first 2 overall picks, and Bo Nix. He didn't want Drake May. He didn't want to saddle his horse to that. He didn't want JJ. He didn't want to saddle his horse to that. And he didn't want Penix. He didn't want to saddle his horse to that. He wanted the top quarterback, the, game changer, the, prospect that was like, supposed to be like that otherworldly player in Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels was right there behind him, which, he could be that otherworldly player too. And Bo Nix, who was not the otherworldly player, but he was like a Drew Brees clone for Sean Payton to mold with his maturity, his age, and all that kind of stuff, and his accuracy. So, I don't think Sean Payton's going to regret this decision by any means. I don't think his legacy is going to be in trouble. Not saying that you're not wrong, Michael, because you are. You're right on this. His legacy is linked to Bo Nix now, but Bo Nix is going to be fine. He's going to be, a good, maybe a great quarterback, and the Broncos are going to win a lot of games. So I don't think his legacy is in jeopardy with that. Last comment here from Big E Bronco. The quarterbacks that played in his time: Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and now Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow. Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, but honestly, out of all, like Tom Brady, we know, he has 7 rings. That, it is what it is. But honestly, whenever it came to knowing the game and, understanding how to read defenses, like I would take Peyton Manning out of all these quarterbacks 10 out of 10 times. Like, if you have a quarterback that is so like into the game that they can literally, it's like Peyton Manning was in the defensive huddle. It's like he had the playbook right there in front of his face every single time, and he knew what the defense was going to do before the defense even knew what they were going to do. Like, that's why Tom Brady to me is still the GOAT. Not Tom Brady. Peyton Manning is still the GOAT because he literally was in the defense's huddle with them. Like, as well as he knew the game and defense and could read a defense, like that's why I think Peyton Manning's still a GOAT. Aaron Rodgers, arm talent, being careful with the football later in his career, mostly because he wanted to protect the stats. But great arm talent from Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady, all around GOAT because he's actually won 7 Super Bowls. He was that pocket passer, that just knew where to go with the ball consistently. I mean, Drew Brees was the same way, but also Tom Brady, I think, was, he was good, but every single year Tom Brady played that he won a Super Bowl, he had like a top 10, if not top 5 defense behind him. Look at the weapons he had to work with, like through his career, some parts of his career, like Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, guys that weren't like, speed demons, guys that weren't well known. Tom Brady was winning Super Bowl with those guys because of Tom Brady's intelligence, love for the game, just like Peyton Manning. But like I said, Peyton Manning is the smartest one when it comes to reading defenses, in my opinion. But also, like I said, Tom Brady always had like a top 10 or top 5 defense behind him. And Drew Brees, accurate, on time quarterback, get rid of the ball fast, just like Bo Nix. That's why I say people have been saying he's the next Drew Brees. He's Sean Payton's next Drew Brees. Patrick Mahomes, to me, he's not really like a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady. He's more of like an Aaron Rodgers, just with more Super Bowls. He makes what I call the wow plays, gets outside the pocket and he makes a throw that you're like, how the heck did he do that? And it's fun to watch if you're a Chiefs fan or if you're not in the division with them, like the Bronco fans, Raider fans, or Charger fans. It is fun to watch, watching him make those wild plays. But I think as soon as Mahomes' athleticism starts to dip, he's not going to, be this same player that he is now. He's not going to be that great. And in all honesty, um, you know, Patrick Mahomes' footwork is still not that great. He's still got like the jitters too. Like he bounces around a lot. Like he's always, his feet ain't set sometimes. Like he'll throw a ball and you look at his feet and you're like, yeah, they're not set. But he makes that throw because he's got the arm strength, the arm talent, and the athleticism to do so. Once that starts weaning, he's gonna have to learn to start playing with his feet. He's gonna have to learn to start setting his feet and delivering the ball if he wants to stay good. Josh Allen, another John Elway, uh, big guy, can run, he can throw the ball, he's got a rocket. And I like Josh Allen. It's fun to watch him play, but they really need to, I think, need to get a new coach in Buffalo. They need to get rid of their head coach there and bring in an offensive guy that's going to, pretty much put Josh Allen, like Josh Allen can't keep taking hits his entire career. Yes, I understand he's big, but he can't just run, as much as he does now through the rest of his career. He's got to have he's got to be able to play from the pocket. Jalen Hurts, he's another kind of guy. Like he started doing better last year and the year before with his pocket presence, staying in the pocket, delivering the ball, his pocket awareness. But he's still kind of a mobile quarterback. Joe Burrow, out of these ones, he to me is probably the best one out of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. Yes, I understand Patrick Mahomes has the Super Bowl rings, which is nice, but Joe Burrow is that pocket passer. He is that guy that he can win from the pocket. And we know he can, like, here's the thing. Another reason why I say Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes is because Patrick Mahomes needs a good offensive line to play well. We know Joe Burrow doesn't need that. That year the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl, they made it with one of the worst offensive lines in football. And they didn't just have it for one game. They had it the entire year. And Joe Burrow still got them to a Super Bowl and came one drive away from winning that Super Bowl with one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So Joe Burrow, in my opinion, is probably the best quarterback out of the new crop of quarterbacks. So running a little bit long here. Last comment here, and I'm getting off of here for tonight. If Peyton Manning would have been a Bronco his whole career, he would have had 6 or 7 Super Bowls. Yeah, maybe. Also depends on the coach. Like if Peyton Manning would have been here and you still would have hired Josh McDaniels, like as much as I love Peyton Manning and how good I think he is and how much of a GOAT I think he is, Josh McDaniels, like he was in charge. Like he probably would have been so stupid he would have traded Peyton Manning away and gotten rid of him. That's how stupid he was. So I wouldn't like say that, like if they don't hire Josh McDaniels within that stretch, during that, like he would have had Mike Shanahan for what, like the first like 10 years of his career, he would have had Mike Shanahan. They probably would have won a lot of Super Bowls in the 2000s. Those years with Josh McDaniels here, I don't think we win a single one, even with Peyton Manning. And then after that, who'd you have? John Fox and Gary Kubiak. Yeah, I mean, he won one with Gary Kubiak. He probably would have won one with John Fox. And then, he retired after Gary Kubiak. But yeah, you're right. He probably would have won a lot of Super Bowls here. But I think those like couple of years that, Josh McDaniels was here, we wouldn't have won anything. And he probably would have traded Peyton Manning away, honestly. But that's it for me tonight, guys. Please let me know in the comments below, what was your gut reaction to finding out, Bo Nix was going, or found out today when Bo Nix was going to be the starter? Let me know what your guys' gut reaction was. Please like, comment, subscribe on this channel, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.